Have you ever heard of the phrase, looks that could kill? This isn't about those looks. This is about the looks that hurt, that make you feel small, and make you feel guilty for existing. This is about the looks that force girls to put up armor and walls to protect themselves. What I hate is when I'm biking home and I come to a stoplight, and I can feel the looks on me. And when I come to a stoplight, they stare. Okay, I'm sorry. It's the looks that make me not hate men, but hate their eyes. What I hate is when I'm biking home and I can feel those eyes on me. And when I come to a stoplight, they stare. It's like a little needle pricking my shoulder, urging me to look to see if I'm being paranoid. Almost every time I give in, and almost every time my gaze is met with a little smirk. I feel at fault for even looking, at fault for potentially inviting that gaze, and frustration from not being able to do anything about it. What I also hate is when you can tell that those eyes are looking down on you because of what I'm wearing or the way that I talk. What's worse is when they talk down to you, when I have to prove my intelligence so I'll at least be included in the conversation. And making a mistake is definitely not allowed because it'll just prove them right. And I know what some of you are thinking. Can men not even look at women anymore? Is this what feminism has come to? And I sympathize with you, really. I want men to be able to form close relationships with women without worrying if they're making her uncomfortable, without her feeling uncomfortable. But that's the problem. The male gaze is always there, even when you can't see it. It's the result of thousands of years of demeaning and treating women as less. And the male gaze is not just being stared at a crosswalk. Being talked down to is the male gaze. Being talked down to because of your gender is the male gaze. And knowing that some men will only see you as a sexual object and a possible girlfriend is the male gaze. And it's something that women always have to think about, something they always have to factor into their life. Is he staring at me because of my short skirt, or did he just zone out? Am I being paid less because I'm seen as inherently inferior, or am I doing something wrong? Am I being interrupted over and over again because my opinion is seen as less, or does he really just want to make his point? It's the little things that make you realize your place in this world. And what I hate when I get these looks or treatment, I always feel like the guilty party. You would think the simple solution would be to cover up more. So do I wear long sweaters and long pants all the time to make sure nothing about me is too provocative? But then again, what makes my 16-year-old body so inherently sexual and alluring? And what made my 12-year-old body so sexual when they told me to cover up, put on a sweater, and put on longer shorts? They tell us that dress code is a rule to protect girls, but what they don't realize is that it's a rule based on misogyny, and which makes young girls feel guilty for existing and having a body. Really, the worst part of it is when these looks are coming from men old enough to be my dad's golf buddy. I trust my father, but when men as old as him look at me that way, it feels like every man I'm going to meet has some sort of hidden agenda. It makes you fear being alone in a room with your male teacher because there's no way to know whether or not they have that gaze. Because that's the issue. You can never know whether or not they possess that gaze. They could be coming from the father of a daughter, from your doctor, from your retail worker, coworker, relative, politician, mailman. It reminds me of a time when I had to go to the ER, and I remember the doctor asking if I wanted medicine, to which I shakily replied, I don't know. And he put his hand on my leg just above the knee and said, let's get you meds, sweetie. I don't believe it was intended in a creepy way, but I saw the sharp look my mother gave him because she and I were both wondering if he possessed that gaze or if he was just comforting a patient. And so I reiterate to you once more, this is not just a woman's issue. This is a men's issue as well. As they grow, young boys are unaware that their gaze is being weaponized through the invisible machinery of the patriarchy that continues to have a tight grasp on our society. And they are unaware that this gaze is potentially distancing themselves from the women and girls in their life. But we can make them aware through educating them and teaching them how to respect women. And the sooner we start helping adult men unlearn the male gaze, the sooner my teacher can answer my question without me being worried about speaking to him, The sooner my doctor can treat and comfort me without him being worried about spooking me, and the sooner women won't have to keep dedicating a portion of their brain to processing the male gaze. Because imagine what we could accomplish if women could dedicate that portion of their brain to educating themselves, improving themselves, and forming relationships. Because the male gaze continues to hold women back. So now I pose the question, how can we eliminate something we cannot see? How can we undo the damage that the patriarchy has done? It's hard to strike up a casual conversation with your parents about the weird look the man at the crosswalk gave you and how it made you feel. And it should not be a casual conversation. Talking about the uncomfort you feel around men has become so stigmatized in our society and our media, it's seen as an attention ploy. And it scares me to be labeled as that. It scares me to be labeled as the dramatic activist girl who makes an issue out of everything. That's why I'm scared and embarrassed to be here today. That's why when anyone asked me what my TEDx topic was on, I initially responded with, "It's a secret." So please, the next time your female friend or girlfriend tells you that the man in the corner is looking at her weird, I implore you not to respond with the classic, "Are you sure? I think you're making this bigger than it is." Because trust me, the only thing she hears when you say that is, "I don't care enough to do or say anything, you're being dramatic." And this issue only resolves itself when we start teaching and, more importantly, demonstrating to young boys how to treat women respectfully. Because the one thing about kids is that they learn from example. But don't let that convince you that this is just our generational problem. It was our mother's problem, our grandmother's problem, our great-grandmother's problem, our great-great-grandmother's problem. And it will become our child's problem, our grandchild's problem, our great-grandchild's problem, our great-great-grandchild's problem. Thank you.